In this video, we will show you that every time you use a radiating device, you're putting your body under stress, and this is not good for you in the long run. We also provide new explanation about how and why this stress is caused, and most importantly, we'll also show you that the orb brings balance back to your body with 100% effectiveness. Radiation fields are now 1 quintillion times stronger than they were in the days before mobile phones. These fields are invisible, you can't see them, smell them or feel them, but we can show you how strong they are here. We're going to start this recording by looking at a couple of cell towers which are sitting on the top of a block of flats, and the reason for that is because we're going to scroll back and we're going to see that that's the view from this window about 200, maybe 250 meters away. And the reason why we're going to show that is because we're now going to look at the EMF meter in the middle. That's the white one. So I'm just going to lock the camera in now. We're going to turn this on. We're going to close the curtains so we can see it properly. And as it turns on, I'll just show you that this phone is on airplane mode. And the numbers here are about 613 microwatts per square meter. What that means is the amount of energy that there is per square meter, and that's 494 microwatts, right? And remember that 1,000 microwatts, which had just jumped up to there, 1065 that was, 1,000 microwatts is a milliwatt. The reason I'm saying that is because this is going to start going up potentially to milliwatts in a second. So let's just see what happens when I turn off airplane mode and I start looking for a signal. Immediately 422 milliwatts, that's 435,000, 446,000, 324,000, that's an awful lot of energy coming through. That's a lot of radio frequency fields. So obviously when you turn the phone on, it starts looking for data. There's a lot of activity, but still those are very, very high numbers that we're seeing there. So I'm just going to turn that off onto airplane mode again, and you should see these numbers drop right down. But the last point I want to make is that when you apply an Omnia Radiation Balancer, which is here, to this phone, what it doesn't do is block or deflect the actual signal, because you need that signal to come in order for the data to be delivered. What it does do is it meets that field which is full of imbalanced vibrations, and it sets it to a balance that will no longer be harmful to the human cell. What we just saw was a really big boost in radiation frequencies hitting the phone. In nature, these levels should be close to zero, and we were seeing peaks of about 446,000 microwatts per square meter. There is one important report in this debate called the Bioinitiative report. It concluded from 4,000 tests on rats that biological harm started at just 6 microwatts per square meter. We saw almost 100,000 times that much. That's the scale of this issue. Now, we don't say that to scare you, but instead to alert you to the fact that the scientific world still has a lot of work to do to agree what the safe levels are. Now, this is important. The phone that you saw in the test already had an orb on it because it's my phone. So to be really clear, imagine that these radiation fields are coming into the phone and they're like a loud noise played by an orchestra, and the orchestra is completely out of tune. You want to hold your ears because your body doesn't like this resonance, it doesn't like this noise. What the orb does is it retunes the orchestra so that it's playing in harmony, and your body doesn't want to go like this. The orb doesn't turn down the volume of the radiation, it harmonizes the music of the radiation. The inventor of the orb has studied radiation for 35 years to work out how to do this. But get this, your body has a sense to hear music, right? However, it can't hear, smell, taste or feel the radiation, so you don't know what it's doing to your body. Your brain doesn't receive any messages to tell you what's going on in your body. And now for the all-important question, how can we tell what these invisible radiation frequencies are doing to our bodies?
Omnia has done 2 tests which clearly show how these invisible frequencies cause imbalance in the human body. First, a live blood analysis showing the effect of microwave radiation on blood cells, and secondly, a muscle test showing the effect of radiation on your body's strength and its nervous system. In both cases, we show how the orb reverses these undesirable effects. And we have one more test which proves that the orb has a positive influence on water, which is good news for your body because your body is 75% water. In the live blood analysis, we took 3 blood samples and examined them as soon as they were drawn. Sample 1 is the baseline. There was no exposure to radiation for 12 hours. Sample 2 was taken after 20 minutes of watching a video on a mobile phone with no protection. And sample 3 was taken after an orb was put on the same phone, and again I watched 20 minutes of video. All samples were taken within 1 hour. So let's see the results.
As we move around the baseline sample, we can start to get an impression of the interaction of the red blood cells. And we can see that there are large areas where the red blood cells are separate from each other. So generally, we can sense here that there are fairly substantial tracts and areas where the red blood cells sit separately from each other. They're residing in their own space. The majority of the areas that we look at, like this, show the red blood cells in their own space with the plasma around them. When we move the camera around the sample after Tim had been using the phone without the sticker on, straight away we see that the red blood cells are much more adherent. They're sticking to each other much more. What we might refer to as rouleaux is present. We can see that wherever we go in the sample, there simply isn't a visibility of red blood cells residing in their own space. They're much more chained and sticking to each other. So we're moving on to another observation here of this same sample. And again, I mean, we see the odd patch where there may be some separation, but generally speaking, everywhere we go, we see adherent red blood cells sticking to each other. When the red blood cells are stuck together like this, movement through the capillaries is likely to be compromised. The tasks of delivery of oxygen to the cells of the body and the elimination of carbon dioxide is likely to be compromised. So this is not an ideal scenario when the red blood cells are adherent, as we see here in these pictures from sample 2. Now, when we move on to the sample taken after the shield had been applied to the phone, again we move around the sample and we're back to seeing a situation where, although there is some adherence, the general picture is one of red blood cells residing much more in their own space. We move around the sample so that we can get a sense of the overall picture. And yes, there are rouleaued areas. This is a human being's blood, and there are other factors other than the phone that affect that situation. These are stills from the video that we took of the third sample, which is a much more desirable scenario for health, balance, and well-being.
Kinesiology is also known as muscle testing. You can test the body's strength and see how the electrical signals in the body cope when they're exposed to a potential stressor. We have done hundreds of tests on people with a mobile phone, a tablet or a laptop. Not one person has passed the muscle test, so we know that it represents a stress to the body. The good news is that every one on test strengthens up when the orb is applied to the radiating device. So let's have a look at some examples here.
Okay, I'm Amanda, this is Nikki, and we're going to do a quick kinesiology demonstration. Kinesiology, in a nutshell, is a biofeedback system to find out imbalances in the body. So what we need is a good strong muscle. I like to use the quadricep because it's very strong, and I just get to push back against my pressure and push back. That's great, that's lovely. So, just going to strengthen that even a little bit more. And again, push. Great, wonderful. Okay, so that's a lovely strong muscle. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to stream a video on YouTube. Can you just hold that phone for me? Okay. And I'm going to ask you to, again, just resist using gentle pressure and push back. Okay. And that muscle's gone completely. Weak as a kitten. Change. Now, we're going to just see what happens when we apply the Omnia Radiation Balancer, or ORB for short. And we will put this right there behind the apple. Okay. And is it still streaming? Mm-hmm. It's still streaming. Great. And now we push. Okay. And that is very strong. That is not going anywhere. So what does this mean? When the muscle is weak, it's responding to an interference in the electromagnetic field. When the muscle is strong, it's no longer interfered with. So that muscle is harmonic, or is balanced, basically.
First of all, we need to explain the importance of hexagonal water. Every life form vibrates. Dr. Emoto observed that vibration travels through water and leaves an imprint. He devised a technique through water crystal photography to freeze and record the different structures of water. Certain samples, as you can see above, show a clear hexagonal geometry in the water, like a snowflake. The more negative vibrational patterns do not. As Dr. Emoto said, anything that is in tune with Mother Nature manifests as a beautiful hexagonal structure. Anything that isn't, doesn't. It represents the life force of Mother Nature. And the absence of water crystals from a sample therefore means that the life forces in that area have been compromised energetically. So let's have a look at the Omnia results. Working backwards, we have sample 3, which was the baseline, and that's mountain water known to be contaminated by metals, and it shows imbalance and no hexagonal structure. Sample 2 was the irradiated sample. The same water was exposed to phone radiation for 5 minutes, and it shows imbalance and no hexagonal structure. And sample 1 was the protected sample. When the orb is applied to a radiating phone and is exposed to water, there is clear impact on that water. It is crystalline and hexagonal in structure. And here's the certificate to prove the research was done by the Hado Institute. For us, this is indisputable proof that the Omnia method works excellently, and that the Omnia Radiation Balancer patch is not only preventing all possible hazardous effects of the microwave radiation of the radiating devices, but also is bringing already unbalanced living cells back into perfect balance. And that's good news for your body. Inside every one of your billions of cells there is a small electric current, so collectively your whole body is like a giant electrical antenna. It responds to everything it comes into contact with. There are good things like sunlight, like walking in nature, like having a hug, like listening to great music. These are all things that the body resonates well with. The body picks up these positive vibes and this makes you happy. Now, this is the crucial point. As an electrical antenna, your body picks up negative vibes too. So if you're stuck behind a bus inhaling petrol fumes, or you're listening to some roadworks, or you're exposed to chemicals, then your body reacts. What happens is the same. The cells in your body start to vibrate in the same rhythm as these toxic vibrations. We've just shown you that your body goes weak and your blood is imbalanced when you're exposed to microwave radiation. So clearly, this is an imbalanced field which represents a stress to your body. This response happens according to what is known in science as the law of resonance. You can't stop this from happening. It's how your body is designed to operate. Your body is always looking to come back to balance, whatever toxins or stress it's exposed to. But the key question I'm going to ask you now is, how much time do you spend on your phone or your laptop? And given this stress load, how much time do you give your body to recalibrate and revive itself? Most of us are totally dependent on our digital devices. And children, well, they seem to be glued to their screens for most of the day. So why not remove the stress that microwave radiation presents in your life today? That's what the ORB does. It's a very simple patch that you stick onto every radiating device in your home and office. It lasts forever, so all you have to do is set and forget. And you know that your body will no longer have to deal with that stress from the microwave radiation. And then you and your family will benefit from having muscle strength, balanced blood, and even structured water in your body. But don't just take our word for it. There are over 6,000 peer-reviewed clinical studies that have shown that microwave radiation is the cause of very serious diseases. This is no surprise to us because it mirrors the results of the Omnia tests that you've just seen. It happens because the frequencies are passing right through you, and they have a silent effect on all the cells in your body. And this will accumulate over time. As such, radiation behaves a little bit like a bully. It will find the weakest point in the body and is likely to cause cellular damage in that area. Our science is inspired by Nikola Tesla, and right now, more than ever, it's necessary to think of the human body in terms of energy, frequency and vibration rather than just blood, bones and chemicals. The ORB is all about harmonizing radiation fields, and we do this by returning it to a balanced wave field that the human cell actually resonates well with. The ORB contains many tiny beautiful units of energy which we call the deca. It is a photon. It's a perfect expression of love and balance with 12 cones of spiraling light inside. The deca is an intelligent energy form, and it responds to conscious human intent. Omnia is designing solutions with the deca that could eventually help us to replace electricity altogether. So we believe this is an exciting time for the human race. We have a very positive message. We are creator beings with more power than we realize, and we can invent a way out of this dangerous radiation overload and solve many other problems along the way. We do this by combining the deca with the power of the human mind. So imagine that the ORB is like a piece of program paper which instructs the radiation fields to return to balance. And you can see how effective this is in our test results. It's a result of 35 years of research into the true behavior of radiation and indeed the atom itself. And this knowledge will be shared soon, and it can lift us up and set us free. So thank you so much for watching. We hope that you now understand that microwave radiation fields are very strong and can cause disease in the human body, that using a radiating device has an instant impact on us, and the body goes weak and the blood can become imbalanced. The ORB will harmonize the radiation and it will reverse these symptoms. The ORB is effective because we understand exactly how radiation behaves on a vibrational level. And we know how to deploy the deca to help us to rebalance these fields. So bring balance back to your body today with the Omnia Radiation Balancer.